all you need to know, the Bloomberg Quint podcast that prepares you for the day's business. Good morning and thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the Daily Morning Update from Bloomberg Quint and I'm Alex Matthew. Today is the 21st of April. Listen in over the next few minutes and we'll tell you everything that you need to know at the start of your day. Let's start with a big story from overnight and perhaps the biggest story in the commodities market this century. I won't blame you if you don't believe this right off the bat. The price of crude oil futures in the US for West Texas crude fell into negative territory for the contract that is due to expire today. That's to minus $37.6 to the barrel. The extreme and unprecedented move was proof of how oversupplied the US oil market has become, with industrial and economic activity at a standstill during the fight against the coronavirus. The contract due to expire next month settled at just over $21.5 to the barrel. The massive crash in oil prices caused equity markets in the US to slide from a 6-week high. The Dow fell the most at 2.4%, while the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq slipped 1.7% and 1% respectively. The three early rises in the Asia-Pacific region are all trading weak at the start, and that could be the trend for the rest of Asia this trading session as well. Now, here's the top news from back home. India reported a fresh spike in confirmed COVID-19 cases over the last 24 hours as the total infections in the country rose by over 1,500 to 17,656. But the good news is that it also reported over 500 new recoveries. The Reserve Bank of India has stepped in with more short-term funding support for the central government to help it tide over the COVID-19 crisis. For the April to September 2020 period, the Ways and Means advances limit for the central government has been raised to 2 lakh crore from an earlier revised 1.2 lakh crore. This limit is the highest ever and a sharp jump compared to the 75,000 crore limit in the same period last year. And in more news on the finances of the central government, here's a move that will help some of the state governments breathe a little easier. The centre has released 46,038 crore rupees to states as their share in central taxes and duties for April. The devolution of taxes has been done based on recommendations of the 15th Finance Commission, according to a Ministry of Finance tweet. In other news, Vijay Mallya has lost an appeal in the UK to block his extradition to India, putting him one step closer to facing fraud and money laundering charges here. A London court upheld a 2018 ruling to send him back to India over allegations that Mallya made a number of misrepresentations leading to the 2012 collapse of his company, Kingfisher Airlines. In more corporate news, Edelweiss Financial Services has filed a writ petition in the Bombay High Court seeking to restrain ICRA from downgrading its debt. The rating agency is looking to downgrade Edelweiss by a notch to A+, according to people who spoke to Bloomberg Quint on the condition of anonymity. In some more international news, Google and Facebook will be forced to pay media companies in Australia for publishing their news under what the government says is a first-of-its-kind mandatory code of conduct. Australia's government has pledged to tackle what it calls a power imbalance between the digital giants and traditional media, adding to the global action against Google and Facebook. Regulators worldwide have been trying to loosen the tech giant's grip on everything from advertising and search engines to news, data, and elections. And with that, it's over to Agam Vakil. Good morning, Agam. An unprecedented move in the oil market today. How are we looking at the start of trade in India?
Absolutely, Alex. Crude is going to be the most important factor to move markets today. Good morning to you and all the listeners. Asian markets have opened weaker and so has the SGX Nifty, which means we brace for some more volatility at open. Needless to say, India's oil and gas sector will be in the spotlight today, which will include companies like Reliance Industries, ONGC, Oil India, and of course, oil marketing companies like IOC, BPCL and HPCL. We may perhaps even see an impact on other sectors which are linked to crude oil like aviation, paints, and tire companies. We move on to earnings. With sequential revenue growth of 0.8%, Infosys earnings were in line with consensus expectations. Its margins contracted 70 basis points to 21.2% quarter on quarter, and more importantly, Infosys has also suspended its provision of annual guidance for revenue growth and operating margins for now, citing uncertainties arising out of the pandemic as a reason. We have Tata Elxsi, which has done reasonably well with a steady 8.3% year-on-year growth in revenues and margins staying steady at around 22.3% against 22.7% year-on-year. We will be watching out for earnings from ACC, CRISIL, and ICICI Prudential Life Insurance today. European Union has also cleared Reliance Industries and British Petroleum's deal, according to Bloomberg, which means that Reliance stays at the top of everyone's watch list today. Morpion Labs has received license to manufacture hydrochloroquine from State Drug Controller last week for its Bhatti plant in Himachal Pradesh and is working to commercialize the product of HCQ in both API as well as tablet forms. We also have Shriram Transport Finance, where its board will seek shareholders' nod to raise up to 35,000 crore rupees. And finally, veteran investor Rakesh Jhunjhunwala has increased stake in Jubilant Life Sciences to 4.4% from 3.5% as per the latest shareholding pattern. Now, these are just some of the stocks that we can watch out for as we move into trade today. But don't forget to go through our morning edition of All You Need to Know only on BloombergQuint.com.
Thanks, Agam. And as always, thank you all for listening in. This is Alex Matthews signing off. Have a great day.
I hope you enjoyed listening to All You Need to Know. Did you know that you can listen to the show on the IVM Podcast app? On the IVM Podcast app, along with this, we have a number of other shows which you think you'll enjoy. Listen to Cyrus Says with Cyrus Brocha as the host. Listen to Paisa Vaisa with Anupam Gupta. The Scene and the Unseen with Amit Verma. Or Shunya One hosted by Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay and myself. Check out the IVM Podcast app to get more talk content that you will enjoy.